Welcome back. This is chapter 4, The Enemy, written by Pearl Asbach. And today I'm going to explain page number 31st to you. So here we go. Could it ever be well to help an enemy? She asked question to herself, though she was supporting her husband, yet there were questions in her mind, and the question that came up in her mind was whether it was anything good to help an enemy. Nevertheless, she told Yumi to fetch the hot water and bring it to the room where the white man was. In spite of this, she instructed Yumi to bring hot water into Sadao's father's bedroom where the white man lay. She went ahead and slid back the partitions. Sadao was not yet there. Yumi, following, put down her wooden bucket. She went ahead of Yumi so that water didn't spill onto the floor. She slid the partitions. There in Japan, they use sliding doors. They use partitions. Here we have some other kind of doors. Sadao was not yet there, and Sadao hadn't been back. Yumi following. Yumi followed her. Reaching there, she put down the wooden bucket of water. Then she went over to the white man. When she saw him, her thick lips folded themselves into stubbornness. Now, putting down the wooden bucket, she went over to the white man. She went close to the white man, and after looking at him, her thick lips folded into arrogance, into stubbornness. That is, she got such kind of feeling looking at that white man that suggested that she was not at all ready to follow the instructions of the mistress. "I have never washed a white man," she said, "and I will not wash so dirty a one now," she said. "I never washed a white man in my life, and that I am not going to do it this time too." That she was not going to follow the instructions of her mistress. Hannah cried at her severely, "You will do what your master commands you." Hannah was very much stern here, with say stern look, or say with a strong voice. He said that she had to follow the instructions, she had to follow the commands of her master or mistress, and she had to do as they wanted her to. There was so fierce a look of resistance upon Yumi's round dull face that Hana felt unreasonably afraid. And as she said those words, there came a look of resistance on her face. That is, her face suggested that she was arrogant, she was adamant, and that she had not given up. She didn't yield. She was not ready to follow the instruction, and that brought some kind of undue fear into the minds of the mistress, Hannah. After all, if the servant should report something that was not as it happened. So here Hannah got scared. She was suspicious of the intention of the servants. She realized here that if they were pressurized, or they would not hesitate to take some action that would be detrimental for them. That is, they might go to the police and speak up the presence of the enemy soldier in the house and present their own version, present the matter in their own way. So she was here very scared. She realized that she should not pressurize them. Very well, she said with dignity. You understand, we only want to bring him to his senses so that we can turn him over as a prisoner. She said, very well. Okay, fine. You don't want to wash him, that's fine. She said all this with the pride of a mistress. And then she said, you understand, we only want to bring him back to his senses so that as he recovered, as he regained his health, we could hand him over to the police. That's our intention. I will have nothing to do with it. Yumi said, I am a poor person and it is not my business. He said, well, I have nothing to do with what you do with this white man. Whether after his recovery you turn him over to the police or help him flee. That's not my business to think. So, since I am a poor person, and that's not my right to ask my master what they did with a thing, with a person, or what they did with a particular issue. Then please, Hannah said gently, return to your own work. Then she asked her very gently to return to her own work, to go back and attain her work. At once Yumi left the room, but this left Hannah with the white man alone. She might have been too afraid to stay, had not her anger at Yumi's stubbornness now sustained her. So here, as Yumi went away, she was left there alone with the white man. In the other circumstances, in the normal circumstances, she would be quite afraid to be there with the white man alone in the room. But since her mind was preoccupied with Hannah's stubbornness and the attitude that she presented to her, so she could not think of anything else, and so she was quite at ease in that room with that white man. Stupid Yumi, she muttered fiercely. She was quite outraged, and with that anger she muttered words, sad and called Yumi stupid. Is this anything but a man? And a wounded, helpless man? She questioned herself if that was not a man, a wild beast, a violent creature, but that was only a wounded and helpless man, a wounded man who couldn't do any harm to anyone, a helpless man. In the conviction of her own superiority, she bent impulsively and untied the knotted rags that kept the white man covered, and with that conviction, with that thought of superiority, of being the mistress or being the owner or the mistress of the house, she bent impulsively. She bent down at the white man, then untied the buttons of the shirt and removed it off his chest. When she had his breast bare, she dipped the small clean towel that Yumi had brought into the steaming hot water and washed his face carefully. Okay, so when the chest lay bare before her, she dipped a small clean towel into the hot water that Yumi brought into the room, and with that soaked towel she washed the wounded man's face very carefully with proper care. The man's skin, though rough with exposure, was of fine texture and must have been very blond when he was a child. But though the white man's skin was rough now because of the exposure, since he was out and was at sea, or say he was carried by the waves to the beach, was lying there due to this exposure, or there was some kind of roughness of the skin. But when she looked at the texture of the skin, it suggested that he had been quite fair when he was a child. So this is all for now. Thank you.